The alarms screamed through every corridor of Sanctuary Station. Commander Day 1 stood on the bridge, watching the tactical display as red markers multiplied across the screen. Each red dot was a Krenth warship. Each one carried enough firepower to crack a moon in half. "Sir, the Western defense grid just went offline," reported Ji Woo, her voice tight with controlled panic. She was young for a strategist, barely 20 cycles old, but she had a sharp mind. Today, that mind was calculating their doom with terrible precision. Day 1 watched another blue marker vanish from the display. That was the carrier times Bright Wind asterisk, gone in a flash of plasma fire. 3,000 souls, erased in seconds. He felt his jaw tighten but kept his face calm. The crew needed to see strength, not despair. "How many ships do we have left?" he asked. Ji Woo's fingers danced over her console. 42 combat-capable vessels, sir. Down from 200 this morning." She paused, and her next words came out softer. "Life support on the station is failing in sectors 7 through 12. We have maybe 6 hours before cascade failure." 6 hours. Day 1 had been a military commander for 30 years. He had fought pirates, negotiated peace treaties, and defended colonies from raiders. But he had never faced anything like the Krenth. The Krenth had appeared 5 years ago from the dark space beyond the outer reaches. No one knew where they came from or why they attacked. They simply arrived and started destroying everything in their path. Their ships were faster, their weapons stronger, their armor thicker. Every advantage the coalition races had built over centuries of advancement meant nothing against Krenth technology. "Sir, incoming transmission from the Times Valor's stand asterisk," called out another bridge officer. "Put it through." Day 1 ordered. The holographic display shimmered to life, showing Captain Rintok of the Torth Fleet. His species had 4 eyes, and all of them looked exhausted. Burn marks scarred the wall behind him. "Commander, we cannot hold this position," Rintok said bluntly. "My ship is down to 30% power. My crew is dying. We need to evacuate." "There is nowhere to evacuate to," Day 1 replied, keeping his voice steady. "The Krenth have blockaded all jump points. Any ship that tries to run gets cut down before it reaches safe distance. Then we die here," Rintok said. It was not a question. Perhaps. Day 1 straightened his uniform jacket, a habit he had when thinking hard. "But not yet. Keep your ship in formation. I have one more option to explore." Rintok's 4 eyes blinked in surprise. "What option?" "We have tried everything. Direct assault, defensive formations, guerrilla tactics, cyber warfare. The Krenth counter everything we do. They are simply better than us in every way." Day 1 terminated the call without answering. He turned to Ji Woo. "Bring up the database of all coalition member species." "Sir?" Ji Woo looked confused but obeyed. A list of names appeared on the screen. Valerians, Torth, Kelix, Mordani, dozens more. All the great civilizations of the galaxy, now on the edge of extinction. "Now show me species we made contact with but never invited to join," Day 1 said. The list changed. Most of the names were species too primitive for space travel, or too isolated, or too hostile. Day 1 scrolled through them slowly. His eyes stopped on one entry. "Humans," he read aloud. "Planet Earth. Initial contact made 14 years ago. Status: pre-interstellar. Tier 3 technology. Notes: unusual cultural diversity. High creativity. Pending evaluation for coalition membership." "Sir, the humans?" Ji Woo's voice carried clear doubt. "They barely have fusion power. Their fastest ships cannot even reach their own system's edge. What could they possibly do against the Krenth?" Day 1 pulled up the contact report from the first meeting with humans. It was brief, written by a survey team that had spent 3 months observing Earth from orbit. Most of it was standard observations about population, technology level, and social structures. But one paragraph caught his attention. Asterisk, Human history is marked by constant warfare among their own kind. They have fought each other with stone, metal, explosives, and atomic weapons. Despite this, or perhaps because of it, they show remarkable adaptability in combat situations. Their military tactics often involve deception, misdirection, and exploitation of enemy weaknesses rather than direct force. Recommend further study. Before integration. Asterisk. They fight differently than we do. Day 1 said quietly. Sir, with respect. They fight with primitive weapons against other primitives, Jiwoo said. The Krenth have plasma cannons that can melt our best armor. What good are human tactics? Day 1 did not answer immediately. He watched the tactical display as 2 more blue markers winked out. The Times, Justice Bringer Times, and the Times, Star Shield Asterisk. Gone. He thought about Jiwoo's words. She was right, of course. Humans had nothing that could match Krenth weapons. But they had something else. Something the Coalition had lost, somewhere in their rise to technological supremacy. They had the mindset of the desperate. The Coalition races had advanced together, sharing technology and knowledge. They had built their civilization on cooperation and honor. When conflicts arose, they fought with agreed-upon rules, fair battles between equals. The strong helped the weak. Warfare was regulated, almost ceremonial. The Krenth did not care about rules. They did not care about honor. They simply killed, efficiently and mercilessly. Hannah, Day 1 called out. A woman at the pilot's station turned to face him. She was one of his best pilots, quick-thinking and fearless. I need you to fly a mission. Sir, where? Hannah asked. Through the Krenth blockade. Day 1 said. The bridge went silent. I need you to reach Earth and bring back a human consultant. Someone who can teach us how to fight, like they do. Hannah stood up slowly. Everyone was staring at her. A flight through the Krenth blockade was suicide. Everyone knew it. But she simply nodded. I will need the fastest ship we have, she said calmly. Take the Times Shadowrunner Asterisk. It is small, fast, and has the best stealth systems we have left. Day 1 walked over to her and placed a hand on her shoulder. Hannah, I would not ask this if there was any other way. I know, sir. Hannah smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. If I do not make it, at least I die trying something new, instead of waiting here for the end. 30 minutes later, Day 1 stood in the launch bay and watched Hannah board the small scout ship. It looked fragile next to the massive warships around it. Jiwoo stood beside him, datapad in hand. The odds of successfully navigating the blockade are approximately 3%, Jiwoo said softly. I know, Day 1 replied. Even if she makes it, the humans might refuse to help. They might not even believe her story. I know. Sir, why are you risking our best pilot for such a small chance? Day 1 watched the Times, Shadowrunner Times, lift off and angle toward the launch tunnel. Because small chances are all we have left. And because I would rather die trying something impossible than die doing nothing at all. The ship shot out into space. A tiny silver dart against the black. Immediately, Krenth fighters detected it and gave chase. Day 1 watched on his command display as Hannah jinked and weaved through plasma fire, her piloting skills saving her life moment by moment. Then she activated the jump drive and vanished in a flash of light. She made it past the first wave, Jiwoo said. Surprise in her voice. Good. Day 1 turned and headed back to the bridge. Now we buy her as much time as we can. Order all remaining ships to hold position. We are going to make the Krenth work for every meter of this station. As he walked through the damaged corridors, past wounded crew members and sparking power conduits, Day 1 allowed himself one small hope. Perhaps somewhere on that distant blue planet, there was someone who could show them how to win an unwinnable war. The Times Shadowrunner Times screamed through Earth's atmosphere like a falling star. Inside the cockpit, Hannah fought with the controls as alarms blared from every system. The ship was dying. Krenth plasma had clipped her port engine during the final jump. She had made it to Earth, but landing was going to be rough. "Come on, hold together," she muttered through gritted teeth. Her translator unit sparked and went dark. Great. Even if she survived the crash, she would not be able to talk to the humans properly. The forest below rushed up fast. Too fast. Hana pulled back on the control stick with all her strength. The ship's nose lifted slightly. Just enough. She clipped the tops of 3 trees before slamming into a clearing. Metal screamed. The windscreen cracked. Then, everything went black. When Hana woke up, she smelled smoke. Her head pounded, and something warm trickled down her face. Blood. She unbuckled her harness with shaking hands and stumbled toward the emergency exit. The hatch hissed open, and she fell out onto soft grass. The air was rich with oxygen, almost too much. Her lungs burned as she gasped. Above her, Earth's sky was a bright blue she had only seen in survey photos. It was beautiful. It was also full of approaching aircraft. Human military helicopters circled her crash site within minutes. Hana raised her hands to show she was unarmed. Soldiers in camouflage uniforms surrounded her, weapons pointed. They were shouting in a language her broken translator could only partially decode. "No." "Threat," she managed to say, the translator spitting out mangled Korean words. "Need. Help. Many die. War. Our land. Our land." The soldiers looked at each other uncertainly. One of them, an older man with silver hair and many badges on his uniform, stepped forward. He lowered his weapon slightly and spoke carefully. "Do you understand me?" he asked. Hana's translator caught enough. She nodded weakly. "War. My people. Dying. Need. Human. Help." The older soldier made a decision. "Get medical here now. And someone contact Seoul. Tell them we have a situation. Off I-1. Get 8 MD. They took Hana to a military base. Doctors examined her while linguists worked on fixing her translator unit. Through the window, Hana could see soldiers standing guard, still unsure if she was a threat or a victim. She could not blame them. An alien dropping from the sky was probably not a normal Tuesday for them. By evening, her translator was working again. The older soldier from the crash site came to her room. He pulled up a chair and sat down, studying her with sharp eyes. "I am Colonel Taejin," he said slowly. "I command this base. Your translator is working now." "Yes?" "Yes," Hana replied. "Thank you for repairing it." Taejin almost smiled. "We considered it. But you did not. Look, very dangerous bleeding in a field. Now, why are you here? You said something about war?" Hana sat up straighter, ignoring the pain in her ribs. "My people are dying. Our entire civilization is dying. We are losing a war against an enemy we cannot defeat. My commander sent me here to ask for your help." "Our help?" Taejin leaned back in his chair. "We barely made it to our own moon. 50 years ago. You have ships that cross between stars. What could we possibly do for you?" "I do not know," Hana admitted. "But Commander Daewon believes you think differently than we do. He read reports about human military history. He thinks maybe you can teach us something." Taejin was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled out a tablet and tapped it a few times. "Show me your enemy. Show me this war." Hana used her own damaged data device to display holographic images. Krenth warships. Battle footage from Sanctuary Station. Casualty reports. The numbers were staggering. Planets burned. Fleets destroyed. Billions dead. "They are called the Krenth," Hana explained. "They appeared 5 years ago. They are stronger than us, in every way. Better ships, better weapons, better armor. We have tried everything. Every tactic our military academies taught us. Nothing works. They just keep killing us." Taejin watched the footage with a professional eye. Hana saw his expression harden as he watched Krenth plasma weapons vaporize coalition ships. When the display ended, he set down the tablet. "Wait here," he said. He was gone for 2 hours. When he returned, he brought someone with him. A woman in civilian clothes, younger, with intelligent eyes that missed nothing. "This is Min Seo," Taejin said. "She is an engineer. One of the best we have. I thought she should hear your story." Hana told it again. Min Seo listened carefully, asking occasional questions. Technical questions about Krenth biology, their ships, their tactics. Questions that surprised Hana because they were not about weapons at all. "What do the Krenth breathe?" Min Seo asked. I do not know," Hana admitted. "Why does that matter?" "Everything matters," Min Seo replied. She pulled up the biological scans Hana had brought, data captured from dead Krenth soldiers. Her fingers moved quickly across the screen, analyzing. Methane-oxygen mix. High pressure tolerance. They evolved on a cold, dense world. "Interesting." Taejin leaned forward. "What are you thinking?" "That Hana's people are fighting the wrong war," Min Seo said. She looked at Hana. "You are trying to beat them at their own game. Stronger ships against their strong ships. Better weapons against their weapons. You are fighting honorably, like equals." "Of course," Hana said, confused. "How else would we fight?" "You fight to win," Taejin said quietly. His eyes met Min Seo's, and something passed between them. An understanding. Not to prove you are equal. To win. By any means necessary. Hana felt cold. "What are you suggesting?" Min Seo closed the data display. "That depends. How badly do you want to survive? Because if you are willing to do whatever it takes, humanity can teach you things your people have never considered. Dark things. Brutal things. Things that work. We are desperate," Hana said. "We have maybe days before Sanctuary Station falls. After that, the Krenth will hunt down every colony, every refugee fleet. They will exterminate us, completely." Taejin stood up. "Give me 2 days to make some calls. Then I will have an answer for you." Those 2 days felt like years. Hana watched human news broadcasts, trying to understand these people. She saw their cities, their technology, their conflicts. They argued constantly, about everything. But they also worked together when threatened. They were fractured, yet unified. Weak, yet strong. It made no sense. On the second day, Taejin returned with news. The government has agreed to help. They are calling it a humanitarian mission, though some politicians are scared about getting involved in an alien war. He paused. "We are sending someone back with you. Someone who can teach your people how to fight like humans do." "A military strategist?" Hana asked, hopefully. "Not exactly." Taejin pulled up a file on his tablet. "His name is Junho. He is a mechanic who works on experimental spacecraft. He has a military background, but he washed out of officer training for insubordination. He refused to follow orders he thought were stupid." Hana stared at the profile photo. Junho looked young, maybe 30 years old. He had a casual smile and messy hair. This was the human they were sending to save the coalition? "Is he a genius?" Hana asked. "No," Taejin said. "But he is a survivor. And he thinks outside the rules, which is exactly what you need right now." Hana met Junho the next morning. He showed up wearing old work clothes and carrying a single bag. He looked at her ship, still damaged in the hangar, and whistled low. "Nice crash landing," he said, through his own translator device. "Most people who hit atmosphere that fast end up as scorch marks." "I am a good pilot," Hana replied, not sure if he was insulting or complimenting her. "Must be." Junho walked around the ship, running his hands over the scorched hull. 3 days, if we work quickly. Then we better start." He dropped his bag and pulled out tools. "Tell me everything about these Krenth while we work. And I mean everything. What they eat. Where they sleep. How they think. The boring stuff that soldiers usually ignore. As they worked, Hana talked. She described the Krenth's rigid military hierarchy, their cold efficiency, their complete focus on destruction. Junho listened and asked strange questions. Did the Krenth have families? Did they laugh? What made them angry? You are asking things I never thought about, Hana said while replacing a power coupling. That is because you were taught to fight wars like chess games, Junho replied. Move your pieces, follow the rules, beat the other side fairly. Humans learned a long time ago that real wars are not chess. They are survival. And in survival, there are no rules. Hana paused in her work. Your wars must have been terrible. They were. Junho's face went dark for a moment. We fought each other for thousands of years. We learned every dirty trick, every cruel strategy, every way to hurt an enemy and make them quit. Not proud of it. But it taught us one important lesson. What lesson? That winning ugly is better than losing pretty. 3 days later, they launched. The ship shook as it climbed through the atmosphere, but the repairs held. Hana plotted a jump course back to Sanctuary Station, hoping they were not already too late. Junho sat in the co-pilot seat, watching Earth disappear behind them. Last chance to turn back, Hana said. You are flying toward a war zone. You might die. Junho shrugged. We all die eventually. Might as well make it count. He turned to look at her. Your commander took a crazy risk sending you here. Let us make sure it was worth it. The ship jumped into hyperspace, carrying humanity's first soldier to an alien war. The jump back to Sanctuary Station took 5 days. When they finally dropped out of hyperspace, Hana gasped at what she saw. The station was still there, but barely. Whole sections were gone, ripped away by Krenth weapons. Debris floated everywhere. Only 16 coalition ships remained, clustered protectively around the dying station. That is what is left? Junho asked quietly. That is what is left, Hana confirmed. Her hands moved quickly over the controls, sending identification codes. Without them, the jumpy defense forces might shoot first and check later. We had 200 ships when I left. Now, a communication came through. Commander Day One's face appeared on the screen. He looked 10 years older than when Hana had left. His uniform was torn, and exhaustion carved deep lines around his eyes. Hana, you made it back. He sounded genuinely surprised. And you brought someone? This is Junho, sir. He is from Earth. The humans sent him to help us. Daewon's eyes shifted to Junho. The human gave a casual wave. Commander, heard you have a Krenth problem. A problem. Daewon almost laughed, but it came out bitter. That is one way to describe extinction. Come aboard. We do not have much time. The Krenth are gathering for a final assault. They docked with the station and made their way through damaged corridors to the command center. Crew members stared at Junho as they passed. Some with curiosity, others with suspicion, a few with desperate hope. In the command center, Ji-woo was coordinating what remained of their defenses. When she saw Hana, relief flashed across her face. Then she saw Junho and frowned. Sir, this is the help Earth sent? One person? One person who might think differently than we do, Daewon said. He gestured to a holographic display showing the tactical situation. This is what we face. 300 Krenth warships, preparing to attack. We have 16 ships and a station that will collapse completely in maybe 12 hours. Junho walked around the display, studying it from all angles. He zoomed in on a Krenth battleship, examining its structure. Then, he pulled up data on their weapons, shields, and power systems. Everyone watched him in silence. Finally, he spoke. You are all going to die if you keep fighting like this. The room went dead, quiet. Ji-woo's face flushed with anger. We have fought bravely for 5 years. We have lost billions trying to stop them. I am not questioning your courage, Junho said calmly. I am questioning your tactics. You are fighting a war of technology and honor. The Krenth are fighting a war of extermination. Those are different things. Daewon crossed his arms. Explain, Junho pointed at the display. You see ships and weapons, military targets, honorable combat between equals. I see a supply chain. Krenth soldiers need food, water, air. Their ships need fuel, ammunition, replacement parts. We have tried attacking their supply lines, another officer spoke up. They defend them too well. Because you attack them honorably, Junho replied. Head-on assaults with warships. What if you attack them dishonorably instead? The room erupted with protests. Young Mi, an intelligence officer, spoke loudest. We are not savages. We follow the codes of warfare. Your codes are getting you killed, Junho shot back. The Krenth do not follow your codes. They do not care about honor. So why are you tying one hand behind your back? What exactly are you proposing? Daewon asked, his voice carefully neutral. Junho pulled up files he had prepared during the journey. First, I need intelligence. Everything you have on Krenth biology, their supply chain, their food production, mining operations, communication networks, the boring stuff that soldiers usually ignore. Jiwoo looked insulted. We are not amateurs. We maintain extensive intelligence files. Good. Give them to me. Junho turned to Daewon. I need 2 days to analyze everything. Then I will present a plan. But I warn you now, you are not going to like it. They gave him a small office and access to all their intelligence databases. Youngmi was assigned to help him. Though she made it clear, she thought this was a waste of time. For 2 days, Junho barely slept. He studied everything. Krenth atmospheric requirements, their digestive systems, their military rank structure, the psychology profiles of their commanders. Youngmi watched him work with growing confusion. Why do you care what the Krenth eat for breakfast? Because everyone has weaknesses. Junho replied without looking up. Strong armor is a strength. But needing special food to survive is a weakness. Fast ships are a strength. But needing rare fuel is a weakness. Discipline is a strength. But rigid hierarchy creates bottlenecks. We just need to exploit the weaknesses. On the 3rd day, Junho called a meeting with all the senior officers. The command center was packed. Word had spread that the human had a plan. Some hoped it would save them. Others expected to be disappointed. Junho stood in front of the tactical display and began. The Krenth have 3 major agricultural stations growing their food supply, he said, highlighting them on the map. They are lightly defended because no one attacks food production. That changes now. We are going to contaminate their food with biological agents. Biological weapons? Daewon said sharply. Those are banned by coalition law. Coalition law does not apply to species trying to exterminate you, Junho replied. And I am not talking about killing them. I am talking about making them sick. Respiratory problems, digestive issues, fatigue. Nothing permanent, but enough to reduce their combat effectiveness by 30 or 40%. The room exploded with arguments. Half the officers were outraged. The other half looked thoughtful but disturbed. Hyun-woo, a young fighter pilot, raised his voice above the chaos. Sir, let him finish. The room quieted. Hyun-woo looked at Junho. What else? Psychological warfare, Junho continued. The Krenth have a rigid command structure. They trust their superiors completely. We are going to create fake communications, suggesting that some Krenth commanders are traitors working with us. Plant evidence. Make them paranoid. Make them start executing their own officers. That is... Jiwoo struggled for words. That is monstrous. That is war, Junho said flatly. The real kind. Not the polite kind you have been fighting. We also stop engaging them in direct fleet battles. Instead, we mine the asteroid fields they transit. We deploy autonomous drones to harass their supply convoys. We destroy their communication relays. We make space itself their enemy. Drones? Youngmi asked. We do not have the manufacturing capacity to build thousands of drones. You do not need thousands. You need hundreds of simple ones. Your manufacturing is too focused on complex, expensive warships. Humans learned long ago that quantity has a quality all its own. Simple drones can be mass-produced in days. Each one carries a small, explosive, or an EMP device. They do not need to destroy Krenth ships, just damage them. Death by 1,000 cuts. Daewon stared at the tactical display for a long time. His officers watched him, waiting. Finally, he spoke. This plan violates almost every code of military honor we hold sacred. Yes, sir, it does, Junho agreed. It makes us no better than the Krenth. No, sir, it does not. The Krenth exterminate civilians. They destroy planets. They kill for no reason except hatred. We would be fighting to survive. There is a difference. Daewon looked around the room at his officers. At Jiwoo, who looked torn. At Youngmi, who looked disgusted. At Hyunwoo, who looked grimly determined. At the dozens of others who had served loyally through 5 years of losing. If we do this, Daewon said slowly, there is no going back. The coalition we knew, the civilization we built on cooperation and honor, will be changed forever. Sir, Hyunwoo spoke up, civilizations only matter if people are alive to be part of them. Dead honor does not rebuild worlds. Daewon closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, his decision was made. We do it, all of it. He turned to his staff. Ji-woo. Coordinate with Junho on the biological agents. Young-mi, work with him on the psychological operations, even if you hate it. Hyun-woo, you will lead the first strike mission. Manufacturing division, start producing simple autonomous drones immediately. Use whatever materials we have left. Officers scattered to their tasks, some enthusiastic, some reluctant. Junho started to leave, but Daewon called him back. Human, the commander said quietly. If this plan fails, we die. If it succeeds, we become something we never wanted to be. I am not sure which outcome is worse. Commander, my people had this same debate thousands of times throughout our history, Junho said. We decided that survival is not negotiable. Everything else can be fixed later, if you are still alive to fix it. Is that what humans believe? That survival justifies anything? No, sir. But survival justifies more than extinction does. Over the next week, Sanctuary Station transformed into something new. Manufacturing bays that once built elegant warships now churned out ugly, simple drones. Medical facilities that once healed wounded soldiers now synthesized biological agents. Communication specialists, who once sent diplomatic messages, now crafted elaborate lies. The first strike force assembled in the launch bay. 20 small ships, including Hana's repaired times Shadowrunner, **. Each carried either bioweapons, fake intelligence packages, or drone clusters. Hyunwoo stood before the assembled pilots. We are not going to fight honorably today, he said. We are going to fight dirty, brutal, and mean. Some of you will hate yourselves for it. That is fine. You can hate yourself after you survive. Now get to your ships. They launched into the dark. The Krenth were gathering for their final assault, confident in their victory. They had no idea that the nature of the war was about to change completely. Junho watched from the command center as the strike teams deployed. Beside him, Jiwoo monitored the mission progress. You really believe this will work? She asked. I believe desperation makes people creative, Junho replied. And you are finally desperate enough to try. On the tactical display, the first drone swarm made contact with a Krenth supply convoy. Then, the biological attacks hit the agricultural stations. Then, The fake intelligence signals started broadcasting. The war was no longer honorable. But maybe now, it was winnable. The first reports came back within hours. Hyunwoo's strike team had successfully deployed the biological agents at 2 of the 3 Krenth agricultural stations. The third station had increased security, so they scattered autonomous drones in the approach vectors instead. Cheap little machines that would wait patiently for Krenth supply ships to pass by. In the command center, everyone watched the tactical displays with nervous energy. This new kind of warfare felt wrong to most of them. But they were out of alternatives. How long until we see results? Daewon asked. Junho checked his calculations. The biological agents work fast. Krenth physiology is different from yours, but their digestive and respiratory systems have similar vulnerabilities. I would estimate 12 to 18 hours before symptoms appear, another day or 2 before it spreads throughout their fleet. And the fake intelligence? Youngmi asked. She had been working with Junho on creating false communication intercepts. She still looked uncomfortable with the whole operation. Already broadcasting, Junho said. We place the signals, so they look like accidental leaks. Encrypted just enough to seem real. But not so much that the Krenth cannot break the codes. They will think they discovered something secret. Jiwoo studied the fabricated messages on her screen. They were masterfully crafted. False reports suggesting that Admiral Croth, one of the senior Krenth commanders, was secretly negotiating with coalition forces. Fake supply manifests showing unusual transfers to his flagship. Audio files that sounded authentic but were completely manufactured. If I did not know this was fake, I would believe it, she admitted. That is the point, Junho replied. Paranoia is a weapon. Make them doubt their own people, and they will tear themselves apart from the inside. The waiting was hard. Coalition forces continued their defensive positions, trying to look weak and defeated. The Krenth fleet gathered strength, preparing for what they thought would be an easy final battle. They had no idea something was already spreading through their ranks. Day 2 brought the first confirmation. A Krenth supply ship tried to dock with their main fleet and was turned away. Communications intercepts suggested quarantine protocols. Youngmi translated the Krenth military chatter. They are reporting respiratory issues on 3 ships. They think it might be a maintenance problem with air filtration systems. She looked up from her console. They have no idea it is an attack. Good, Junho said. The best attacks are the ones the enemy does not recognize as attacks. They will waste time investigating technical failures instead of medical warfare. By day 3, the situation in the Krenth fleet was deteriorating fast. More ships reported sick crew members. Their medical facilities were overwhelmed. Commanders were arguing about what was causing the problem. Some suspected sabotage. Others insisted it was just bad luck with environmental systems. And then the false intelligence started taking effect. A Krenth frigate captain reported Admiral Croth's flagship to high command, citing suspicious behavior. The admiral was called in for questioning. He denied everything, of course, because there was nothing to deny. But the seed of doubt was planted. When the admiral returned to his ship, another fake transmission was broadcast. This one suggested he had been secretly cleared by traitors in high command. More ships began watching each other suspiciously. Trust was breaking down. Sun Hee, a Korean biochemist who had been brought up from Earth to help with the second phase, arrived on Sanctuary Station. She was brilliant and ruthless in equal measure. Junho introduced her to the coalition scientists. The biological agents are working better than expected, she reported. But the Krenth will eventually develop countermeasures. We need to stay ahead of them. I have designed a second wave of agents targeting their electronics instead of their bodies. She displayed her work on the holographic projector. Nanoscale particles that would corrode specific metals used in Krenth circuitry. They were too small to filter out easily and would spread through their ships like invisible rust. How do we deploy them? Daewon asked. Through their own ventilation systems, Sun Hee replied. We get the particles into just 1 or 2 ships, and they will spread them to others every time they dock or transfer crew. It will be weeks before they figure out what is happening. Jiwoo looked at the data with professional admiration. This is elegant. Terrible. But elegant. War is not about being nice, Sunhee said bluntly. It is about making the other side quit. The second wave deployment happened on day 5. Hyunwoo's strike team, now veterans of the new warfare style, infiltrated a Krenth supply depot. They did not even try to destroy it. Instead, they released Sunhee's nanoparticles into the ventilation systems and left quietly. 2 days later, Krenth ships started reporting electrical problems. Navigation systems glitched. Weapons targeting became unreliable. Communication arrays produced static. The Krenth engineers could not understand what was wrong. Their diagnostics showed everything working fine, right up until the moment systems failed. By day 8, the Krenth fleet was in chaos. 30% of their ships reported sick crews. 60% had some kind of electrical malfunction. Paranoia about traitors had spread to the point where 3 different commanders had been executed without trial. Their tight, disciplined organization was unraveling. And then came the asteroid field operation. Junho had identified the main transit route the Krenth used to move between their staging area and sanctuary station. It passed through a dense asteroid field that the Krenth navigated carefully but confidently. They had done it hundreds of times. "We are going to make that route impassable," Junho explained to the assembled officers. "Mining the field would be obvious. Instead, we are going to change the asteroids themselves." "Change them how?" Day 1 asked. "We attach small thrusters to key asteroids. Nothing big, just enough to alter their orbits slightly over several days. When the Krenth fleet tries to transit, the asteroids will not be where their navigation charts say they should be. At high speed, even small miscalculations are fatal." It was a massive undertaking. They had to deploy teams to dozens of asteroids, install the thrusters, and synchronize everything perfectly. But they had drones for this now. Hundreds of simple, cheap drones that could work around the clock. The work took 6 days. The Krenth did not notice because they were too busy dealing with sick crews, malfunctioning equipment, and internal investigations. Their intelligence never considered that the asteroids themselves might be weaponized. On day 14, the Krenth fleet began its final assault. They entered the asteroid field in formation, confident and aggressive. They were going to end this war today. The first ship hit a repositioned asteroid at 30% light speed. The impact was catastrophic. Debris from the explosion damaged 2 more ships. The fleet scattered, trying to avoid collisions, but everywhere they turned, asteroids were in wrong positions. Their navigation data was useless. In 15 minutes, the Krenth lost 23 ships. Not to weapons, not to enemy action, but to rocks in space. The fleet commander ordered a retreat. But the way back was just as treacherous as the way forward. More collisions, more losses. By the time they extracted themselves from the field, they had lost 40 ships and damaged dozens more. In Sanctuary Station's command center, the Coalition officers watched in stunned silence. They had just won a major victory without firing a single shot. "The asteroid field will slow them down for weeks while they chart a new route," Jiwoo said softly. By then, the biological and nanotech attacks will have weakened them even more," Junho finished. "And their paranoia will have done the rest." But he was not done yet. "Now comes the really mean part." He explained the next phase. The Krenth were demoralized, weakened, and confused. This was the perfect time to hit them with psychological warfare that would break them completely. They began broadcasting messages directly to Krenth ships. Not threats or demands, but sympathy. Fake defectors, explaining how they escaped the Coalition, how the Coalition forces would accept Krenth soldiers who wanted to stop fighting, how there was a way out of this war that did not end in death. "There are no actual defectors," Youngmi said. "This is all fabrication." "Yes," Junho agreed. But the Krenth commanders do not know that. They will execute anyone they suspect of wanting to defect, which will make their soldiers actually want to defect. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Within days, Krenth discipline collapsed further. Commanders executed crew members for mentioning the broadcasts. Other crew members mutinied. In response, 3 Krenth ships destroyed each other in friendly fire incidents. The fleet was eating itself alive. Day 1 called a meeting with his senior staff. Everyone looked exhausted, but hopeful for the first time in months. The Krenth have stopped their advance, he reported. Their fleet is in disarray. Intelligence suggests some of their commanders are requesting permission to withdraw. Withdraw? Jiwoo repeated. The Krenth never withdraw. They only advance or die. They are dying, Hyunwoo said quietly. Not from our weapons. From their own fear and confusion. Daewon looked at Junho. You predicted this. I predicted that any organization breaks when you attack its foundation, Junho replied. The Krenth built their strength on discipline, trust, and technological superiority. We took away all 3. At what cost? Daewon asked. We have abandoned every principle the coalition was built on. You are still alive, Junho pointed out. Principles can be rebuilt. People cannot. Youngmi spoke up. The Krenth are sending a communication. They are requesting negotiations. The command center went silent. Negotiations. The Krenth, who had never shown mercy or interest in peace, were asking to talk. Should we respond? Jiwoo asked. Day 1 considered carefully. Yes. But from a position of strength. We continue all current operations while we talk. Show them we can hurt them whenever we want, but we are choosing to talk instead. The negotiations began the next day. The Krenth were humbled, almost broken. They could not understand how they had lost to an inferior enemy. Their technology was still superior. Their ships were still stronger. But they were defeated anyway. In the command center, Junho watched the negotiations with a distant expression. Hana stood beside him. You look sad, she observed. We are winning. You should be happy. I am glad you are surviving, Junho said. But I am not happy about what you had to become to survive. We taught you how humans fight. Now, you cannot unlearn it. Was it wrong? Hana asked. What we did? Junho was quiet for a long time. It was necessary. Necessary. And wrong are not opposites. They can both be true at the same time. The negotiations concluded 3 days later. The Krenth agreed to a ceasefire, withdrawal from coalition space, and reparations. They would leave and never return. The war was over. The coalition had won by fighting dirty, fighting mean, and fighting like humans do when their backs are against the wall. They had survived, but they would never be the same. 3 months after the ceasefire, Sanctuary Station was being rebuilt. New sections replaced the ones destroyed in battle. Ships came and went, bringing supplies and refugees returning to their homes. The galaxy was healing. Slowly. Commander Daewon stood in his office, looking out at the construction work. He had been promoted to admiral, though he was not sure he wanted the honor. The title felt heavy. Everything felt heavy now. There was a knock on his door. Come in. Jiwoo entered, carrying a data pad. She looked better than she had during the war. She had gained back some weight, and the exhaustion had faded from her eyes. But something else was different too, something harder. Sir, the final casualty reports are in, she said, handing him the pad. Daewon read through the numbers. Billions dead. Hundreds of worlds damaged. But the coalition had survived. Barely. But they had survived. And the Krenth? They withdrew completely. Intelligence reports suggest they are dealing with internal problems. Whatever we did to them, it broke more than just their military. Their whole society is unstable now. Daewon set down the pad. We did not just defeat them, we destroyed them. Yes, sir. Jiwoo's voice was neutral. Was that wrong? I do not know anymore, Daewon admitted. I do not know what is right or wrong. I only know we are alive. Down in the engineering section, Junho was finishing the repairs on Hana's ship. The Times, Shadowrunner. Times looked better than new. He had upgraded several systems using both human and coalition technology. It was a strange hybrid, but it worked well. Hana watched him work with admiration. Over the past months, she had learned a lot from the human. Not just about warfare, but about problem-solving in general. About thinking beyond the rules. You are leaving soon, she said. It was not a question. Tomorrow, Junho confirmed. He closed the access panel and wiped his hands. My job here is done. Earth wants me back. You could stay. The coalition formally offered you a position as military advisor. They would pay you well, give you command of your own division. Junho shook his head. I am not a soldier. I never wanted to be. I did what needed to be done, but I do not want to make a career out of teaching people how to be brutal. You saved us, Hana insisted. Billions of people are alive because of you. I know, and I will carry that weight for the rest of my life. The good weight and the bad weight, together. Hana did not understand at first. Then she realized what he meant. Junho had saved lives by teaching them to take lives more efficiently. He was a hero who felt like a villain. It made her sad. What will you do on Earth? She asked. Go back to being a mechanic, fix things instead of breaking them. Maybe that will balance things out. That evening, there was a ceremony. The coalition leadership wanted to honor Junho before he left. They assembled in the main conference hall. Representatives from every surviving race attended. The room was packed. Admiral Daewon stood at the podium and spoke. We are here to honor the human Junho, who showed us a new way to fight when we had given up hope. He taught us that survival requires more than honor. It requires the will to do whatever is necessary. There was applause, but it sounded uncertain. Some people in the audience looked grateful. Others looked uncomfortable. Everyone understood that Junho had saved them by making them compromise everything they believed in. Youngmi stepped forward to present a medal. She had worked closely with Junho on the psychological warfare operations. She had hated him at first. Now, she did not know what she felt. For exceptional service to the coalition in our darkest hour, she said formally, pinning the medal to his chest. Then, more quietly, thank you. And I am sorry. Sorry for what? Junho asked. For needing you. After the ceremony, Junho found a quiet balcony overlooking the station's main concourse. He stood alone, watching the crowds below. People, laughing, talking, living, because he had shown their military how to fight dirty. Daewon found him there. The admiral looked old, despite his relatively young age. War did that. To people. You do not seem happy, Daewon observed. I am not, Junho admitted. I am glad you survived, but I am not happy about the cost. The cost we paid, or the cost you paid. Both. Junho turned to face the admiral. You asked me once if survival justifies anything. I told you it justifies more than extinction does. I still believe that, but it does not make me happy. Daewon was quiet for a moment. Before this war, the coalition was built on ideals. Cooperation, honor, mutual respect. We believed civilizations should advance together, help each other, fight fairly. Those ideals felt important. They were important, Junho said, but they almost got us killed. Your humans learned something we never did. That sometimes, ideals must bend to reality. My humans also learned that bending ideals too far breaks you in different ways, Junho replied. We spent thousands of years fighting each other with every dirty trick we could invent. It kept us alive, but it also made us cruel. We are still trying to outgrow that cruelty. What should we do? Daewon asked. Go back to our old ways? Or embrace the brutal efficiency you taught us? Neither, Junho said firmly. Find a balance. Keep your ideals. But understand when you need to set them aside. And always, always remember that just because something is necessary does not make it good. The next morning, Junho prepared to leave. His ship was loaded and ready. A small crowd gathered to see him off. Hana, Jiwoo, Youngmi, Hyunwoo, and others who had worked with him. Hana stepped forward. Will we see you again? Maybe, Junho said. If you need help. But I hope you do not need help. I hope you rebuild your civilization into something better than what you lost. We are setting up an exchange program with Earth, Jiwoo said. Cultural and scientific cooperation. Min Seo is coming up next month to teach coalition engineers about human manufacturing techniques. Good. Trade knowledge, not just tactics. Learn from each other. That is what the coalition was supposed to be about. Right? He started toward his ship, but Day One called out. Junho. One last question. The human turned back. Your people fought each other for thousands of years. How did you finally stop? Junho thought carefully before answering. We did not stop because we wanted to. We stopped because we had to. We created weapons so terrible that using them would destroy everyone. Fear forced us to find other ways to solve problems. It was not noble. It was not idealistic. It was just survival recognizing its limits. So fear saved you? Fear made us pause. What saved us was deciding to build something better during that pause. He smiled slightly. You have your pause now. The Krenth are gone. The war is over. What you build next is up to you. Junho boarded his ship and launched. The coalition officers watched until it disappeared into jump space. He was right. Youngmi said quietly. We are not the same civilization we were before. We can never go back to pure honor and cooperation. We know too much now. Then we build something new. Daewon decided. Something that remembers ideals, but understands reality. Something that fights fair when possible, and fights dirty when necessary. We call it the New Coalition Code. Over the following months, the coalition leadership drafted new military doctrines. They kept the old rules for conflicts between coalition members, but they added new sections for dealing with existential threats, rules that could be suspended, tactics that could be used, lines that could be crossed when survival was at stake. Some people protested. They said it ruined what the coalition stood for. Others argued it was necessary learning from painful experience. The debate raged for years, but everyone agreed on one thing. The clause Junho had proposed was added to every military treaty and defense pact. In warfare, honor is defined by protection of innocent life, not method of engagement. Nude. Back on Earth, Junho returned to his old workshop. He fixed broken spacecraft and experimental engines. He tried not to think about the war, but the metal sat on his desk, a constant reminder. Colonel Taijin visited him one day. You look troubled. I taught an entire civilization how to fight like humans do, Junho said. I am not sure that was a good thing for the galaxy. You taught them how to survive, Taijin corrected. What they do with that knowledge is up to them. You gave them a choice between certain death and possible corruption. They chose possible corruption. That was their decision, not yours. Does that make it better? No. But it makes it theirs to live with, not yours. Taijin pulled up a chair. The coalition sent formal diplomatic requests. They want Earth to join as a full member. They are offering technology exchanges, trade agreements, cultural programs. We would advance by centuries. And what do they want in return? Military consultation. They want human advisors available if they face another existential threat. They want access to our way of thinking. Do 3. Junho laughed bitterly. They want more dirty tricks. They want survival insurance, Taijin said. Can you blame them? No, Junho admitted. I just wish survival did not require becoming monsters. It does not, Taejin said firmly. It requires knowing how to become monsters if you must, but choosing not to unless absolutely necessary. That is the difference between humans and actual monsters. We know what we are capable of, and it scares us. That fear keeps us from going too far most of the time. Months became years. Earth joined the coalition officially. Human engineers taught advanced manufacturing. Coalition scientists shared medical technology and clean energy. Cultural exchanges flourished. And when conflicts arose, as they inevitably did, the coalition fought with a new philosophy. Honor when possible, efficiency when necessary, and always with the protection of innocent life as the highest priority. The galaxy was not perfect, but it was alive. And sometimes, Hana would visit Earth. She and Junho would work on ships together, not talking much, just building things. Creating instead of destroying. One day, as they installed a new drive system, Hana asked, "Do you regret what you did? Teaching us to fight your way?" Junho was quiet for a long time. "I regret that it was necessary, but I do not regret that you survived. Those are different things." "Yes," Hana agreed. "They are." They worked in comfortable silence. Outside, Earth turned below them, blue and peaceful. And far away, across the galaxy, the coalition rebuilt itself. Stronger than before, wiser than before, harder than before. The Krenth had thought they had triumphed. They had thought the coalition was weak because it fought honorably. They were wrong. The coalition was not weak. It was simply waiting to learn that survival does not care about honor. It only cares about continuing to exist. And they had asked a human for help understanding that lesson. The galaxy would never forget it.